we'll make a start. And what I'll do is, because this uses AI, and I know for many people it's the end of everything. It's the death of all creativity. I don't believe it is. I asked Grok on Twitter the other day to make a profile picture of me, and it was so wildly wrong. It reassures me. But what it does is it puts an edit point in. So I will pause and then I will say, hello, welcome to Tell Me Your Story. And I've got 2 guests for the price of 1, which is literally nothing. They get nothing. Kate and Chris of A Place for Us. And we'll get into that and we'll get into why it's called that and what you do. But Kate and Chris, first of all, I have to ask you, will you tell me your story?
Oh, go on then.
Try and stop us, Gav.
I know. So first of all, if you were going to give the pitch, and it's a horrible question, answer it individually and then answer it together. So the potted history, who are you and what do you do?
Shall I start?
You can do, yeah.
So my name's Kate Allerston and I am a creative person. Always have been for the whole of my life, for the whole of my umpteen decades. I've been creative and I've worked in the creative industries as an actor, as a director, and as a cultural arts kind of passionate advocate, I suppose. Spent a lot of my life in London, and then I moved back up here in my mid-30s and then worked in cultural education and then started a theatre company with this lovely man here who I then married. So, yeah.
In that order. Back here, you're in Liverpool. You're, in fact, just in very, very walking distance from me up there. And I think I can hear the same birds twittering that you can hear. It's my windows open as well. So thank you, Kate. Chris, tell me about you, and then you can both tell me about A Place for Us.
Okay, so started life as a professional musician, played in sort of theatre pits, musical pits, played all over the world with a percussion quartet. Towards the end of my playing career, I got quite heavily involved in music education. Started working for a local authority music service. Eventually, started a brand new trust, music trust, to oversee music education hub funding. Worked for the local music education hub up here across Warrington and Halton as well for a while. But those years really highlighted the burning passion I had for actually doing it as a creative, but also really giving back kind of meaningfully as well. And then I met Kate and literally my life changed, literally almost instantly. And it was the most wonderful thing. And we now have A Place for Us, which is, I can't think of anything either of us would rather be doing.
Yeah, and if that was kind of born out of, we did a musical together back in 2017 in our past lives. We did that together. And then when we got together the following year, we formed A Place for Us not long before COVID, actually. And A Place for Us was originally just a young people's theatre company or youth theatre academy. And then since then it's mushroomed into a professional theatre company, which runs alongside our theatre academy and a youth theatre and lots of creative projects that your good self are involved in, Gav. And
yes, and full declaration, we've worked together for a good while now, and you have supported, nurtured and celebrated me, and you are absolute dreamboats to work with. But this isn't about me. Where did the name come from?
Well, the name came from we were doing West Side Story, and the line "There's a place for us," was going around our heads, and we were talking about the company. And
earworm, it's sick. Anybody who heard you say that, it suddenly is like,
there's a place for us. And then COVID happened, and we couldn't do West Side Story, and still were kind of. The name A Place for Us was still going in. It had just kind of been born, hadn't it?
Yeah.
And we were like, it is. It was kind of working title, and then we were like, it's got to stick now, because actually everybody at this point in in our history. We all need a place to kind of be creative. We need a place to kind of just land sometimes, and we were desperate to still do it, as we all were at the time. And so, yeah, we kept it. We kept a place for us, and
So I want to talk about the projects you've got going this year, because you have so many. You spin so many plates, both production, creativity, and your own, community based work and advocacy, and just incredible amount of work. But just go back very quickly. How did you end up being performer, musicians, singers, creatives? What was it, the spark for you?
The honest answer to that for me is it was the only thing that really engaged me. School was not a great experience for me. I didn't have a great time there, except for being in the music department, which I loved and adored. And my route into music was my parents were both in the Salvation Army. So you go to the Salvation Army, you get involved in all the singing, all the brass banding, all of that. The reason why I ended up as a percussionist is because I'm rubbish on just about every other instrument. No, but you start off with you're
taking a notice of it.
You're given a cornet, and I couldn't play that. You're given a tenor horn, I couldn't play that.
The real answer to that is he became a percussionist because it was sexy, because he thought the drummer always gets the girl. Come on,
this took a turn.
I can't believe the drummer totally outed. Totally, there was me giving a really humble kind of honest.
That's where I've gone wrong. I should have been the drummer.
Thou shalt not lie with drummers.
Yeah.
So there we go. So you as a young person, you wanted to be the as not my words, Kate's words, the sexy Salvation Army drummer. Anyway, no, but I know, because we've talked before, you're part of that. Are both you part of the kind of that youth access to the arts and creativity? Did both of you benefit from that?
Yeah, I did massively. I mean, I did a different experience to Chris. I loved school. I had a great experience at school. And one of the great experiences at school was my drama teacher, who was my absolute hero. She was just the most amazing woman. And she was one of the reasons why I ended up going to LAMDA, because she fought for me to go there, and she kind of pushed me to go for it. And then I also had a great experience as a teenager in the Playhouse Youth Theatre in Liverpool, which I was in for several years, and it was such great. We did such great work together, and also we were like a critical mass of people at the time. There was lots of great writers around. There were lots of great young actors around, all funded. It was all free. And then loads of people from the youth theatre went on to work in the arts and went off to do their thing and to London, and then they came back to Liverpool. And I think that's one of the things that we really we're really passionate about. Yes, go off to London by all means, because it's great to do that and go off and travel and do your thing. But we can grow our own as well. We can keep them up north if we need to. We can keep the arts here. We can keep young people who maybe can't access the arts in other places and other areas. Maybe they can't afford to go to London, and we're kind of very much of the mindset of, well, we can do it here, and we can give you quality here as well. We can train you, and we can work with you, and we can maybe give you a talent development kind of process that you might get. We're not saying we're a drama school or we qualify anyone, but we give grassroots kind of experiences. So,
it's opportunity, because I see it from the outside.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know the loss of creativity across community and school, and we've seen that. I benefited from a youth theatre, which was another grassroots dram company led, but also other opportunities in my authority, and as a teacher I was involved in that, but here you are, and anyone who looks at your socials only has to look at them on a Sunday when you've edited together your Saturday rehearsals, and there's what seems to be 500 kids having the best time, the best Saturday, singing their hearts out, and that's incredible. So that I'm always pleased to meet people that were in youth orchestras and youth county dance, county theatre activities. They know they've been through. I know they've been through something where they find their tribe, and that's something that's important to you, isn't it? Because you offer that place. It is a place for many people. We know that creatively. Now, you've got so much going on. So in the next few months, projects-wise, just do the finger list, and then we'll break it down a bit.
Oh, blimey. So we've got a Shakespeare tour going out, which has got Macbeth and Romeo and Juliet. That's our professional company. Really want to dig into that, about that professional side of things is so important, actually. And one of the reasons why we're so proud of it, we can bookmark that, come back to us on that. That'd be great. So we've got that. We've got a project called Oppurtunities, which is linked to Romeo and Juliet. We've got Electric Dreams coming up at Shakespeare North Playhouse, which is a musical adaptation of A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's an 80s version of that. We will also be doing over the summer some holiday activity fund. That's the grassroots free provision for children
in Holton.
Yeah, that's free access. We'll be doing that. Then we get into October. Have I missed anything between now and then? No. And then we get into October, and we've got our big production of Les Mis, which is happening.
Theatre production, yeah.
Oh, and then in November, we're starting up an actual youth theatre. We're really chuffed. Kate put an amazing bid into Holton Borough Council to bring a youth theatre back to Holton, so Holton will have a youth theatre again.
Which is fully funded.
That is, it's absolutely amazing. Genuinely, you mentioned something before. When you heard that, when you know what's been lost, there's a reason why. And Holton, which people watching this don't know, is a part of Merseyside. It's the borough that bestrides Widnes and Runcorn across the Mersey there. And, it's a place I do a lot of work in myself with you and otherwise. And it's just people, there's so many people that are so creative, living in, coming to, being part of all these activities. So let's go back across that list and back to the first things we were talking about. Shakespeare, of course. I died last year every time I stepped out as King Duncan in Macbeth, and I'm going to say this, just one of the best productions, not because I was in it, but because it was the cut to the bone, so good. Straight through. I've seen some magnificent Macbeths as an ex-teacher, and I've also seen some terrible, too long.
Yeah.
But tell me about your approach to Shakespeare, both Macbeth and Romeo and Juliet, and what you're going to be doing with them.
So we're passionate about Shakespeare, as you know, Gav, and I have been all my life, because I used to run the Shakespeare Schools Festival. I started that back in 2000 when I was in London. That was one of the things I did. So I was, that was about young people being able to access Shakespeare, and we wanted to bring to the community, to as a professional production, we wanted to bring an abridged version of one of our most beloved plays, which is Macbeth. But we wanted to, like you say, cut it to the bone, but also keep the story and keep the passion, keep the drama, keep it all really fizzing along and burning along, and make it as vibrant and as exciting and as gory and as awful as it should be still, but within 70 minutes. And hopefully, I think we do that.
You do. And the model is incredible, because and I've seen this before, but I think you do this very, very well. You have that mixture of professional performers, newly minted young performers, and performers who've been working with you in your youth led. And that's an incredible model that you've got there. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah. I mean, do you know what? I think it's probably the thing we are most proud of. We are most proud of the fact that you can come to us. We mentioned the Holiday Activity Fund. that happens, those sessions and workshops we put on over the summer, you can come to that for free, having never taken part in drama before. And by the time you finished working with us, you can have gone through all of the stages. You can have come to our Saturday morning training, which we give bursaries out to. If you can't afford to come that, but you're interested, we will find a way to enable you to come. From there, you can come and do some of the other funding, like we do big musicals over the summer. You can join our youth theatre. You can keep having all of that. We can support you. All of that experience. We will support you up until you decide if you want to go to drama school, if you want to go to drama college.
We work with Cronton College a lot as well, don't we? They're one of our big partners, and they've done a lot of work experience programs with us, where they've taken a group of young actors and we've put on a play with them, as a professional company. Which is where the professional company was born out of.
Yeah. And I think that the thing we are genuinely proud of is the fact that we've now got people who are going on tour with us professionally, getting paid for it. It's it's part of their work portfolio,
all adults.
And they've come through our system. They've come. We've got probably 4, 5, 6 in the company that are a product of.
They were teenagers with us, and now they're adults and. They're young professionals, and a couple of them are young professionals, not acting, but they're still in the creative industries and still want to just exercise their talent still.
No, I'm someone that I needed a distraction this afternoon, so I went to the cinema. I watched How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh.
I genuinely loved it. I always stay to the end of the credits, not because I think there's going to be something. I love because it's great music played through brilliant speakers. But the one thing is, I'm always looking at credits. I'm that kind of nerd. The tens, the hundreds, the thousands of names, because, because of my involvement, I know that it's not just the performers and your connection with learning. You've got like a makeup team who are being supported to be part of it.
We're all really passionate about partnerships and partnership working, because it is like it might sound like a naff thing to say, but we do believe that it takes a village, and it's
true.
It really is. It really is. Without all you guys, and without the likes of Riverside College, the makeup department and hair department there, that they come along, and yes, it's become part of their training now, but it's also just the sheer generosity, and I think they love working with us. Hopefully, they keep coming back and wanting to do more with us, which is just amazing. And then we've got stage management crew, we've got tech crew, all who come and work with us. When we can, we pay them. We pay them when we can. But the likes of Riverside College, they do it as part of their training, which is incredible. And they're coming on tour with us this summer. The makeup hair department, they're coming on tour with us. They've got the funding to be able to do that, which is mind-boggling. Well, when do you get that in professional theatre? Usually, certainly outdoor theatre. I don't think you do you?
And that's because this is an industry, isn't it? There are jobs and roles, and not everyone is going to be Romeo. Why would you want to be Romeo or Juliet? They're just awful, whiny. Anyway, that's
I've always thought Brutus Aeschylus is really that's
yeah, absolutely. Everyone wants to be either Mercutio or King Duncan, dead by Act 1. Oh, spoilers! Dead by the intervals. But so I'll put the links. But it's touring in the Northwest, and then incredibly, you've secured London tour spot, which is
it's the Covent Garden, the Actors Church in literally the centre of Covent Garden.
Absolutely incredible. You're going to be making memories for everyone involved, but for me, like you, because I have a particular background, those young performers being given this opportunity professionally to perform these plays in that space under the guaranteed splendour of a British summer.
It will be.
But to continue that funnel, because you're going then, and I know these pieces will be going to Shakespeare North, incredible. There's the newest theatre space in the Northwest, I believe. Maybe, well, certainly this side of the M6. The incredible space. If you've not been there, I'll put all the links down. Tell me about Electric Dreams and what that is and what you're doing with it.
Electric Dreams is we love every production we do, actually. We really do, and particularly the Shakespeare. But Electric Dreams is our baby, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it was Kate's brainchild a number of years ago, and I think she's just loving the fact that we've been able to give it a new lease of life.
Yeah, so we did it. We Electric Dreams is our 80s production of Midsummer Night's Dream, which I think you saw at Norton Priory back in 21, Gav.
I did.
And when I'd kind of thought of it years before, and we'd exercised it a little bit as a youth theatre production, but I'd always wanted to do it as a professional show, and we got the chance to do that with some ACE funding and partnership with Norton Priory, which was amazing, as an outdoor musical. And then they brought it back in 2023 when we did it again with an amazing company. We did not the complete same company, but mostly, wasn't it? With a live band that Chris is MD, so it's all 80s music, all live, and it's the story of Midsummer Night's Dream, but it's just joyful, you know, and
it is joyful. I say that as someone who's not a fan of musicals.
I know, and you came to me with your kids.
I came and my kids came and we really enjoyed it, and it is joyful because it's just a beautiful play. It's one of those amazing things that you know, but so it's Midsummer. It's an adaptation of Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in Shakespeare North, which is just one of the most beautiful theatre spaces in the country.
Indoors, yeah. So we're taking it indoors. We've never played indoors with it before, so it's going to be in the Cockpit Theatre, and we're going to just lift the roof off the place, aren't we? I think.
Yeah. I can't wait. It's just
it's like you say, 80s party.
Yeah, joyous. You're right, Gav. It's just joyous.
Yeah, it is.
List some of the songs, because I say this again. You know, I've in my life I've seen a couple of jukebox musicals, and some of them have just smashed it and have been great fun.
Yeah,
this one was just so much fun. What songs do you have in it?
We had really loads of fun putting it together, didn't we? And then getting the right. Oh, sorry, our dogs. Oh, I get excited.
Big fans of Electric Dreams.
Hands on Electric Dreams, but getting the rights to the music, that was a journey as well. But yeah.
But it opens with, we built this City on Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
It's then got It's Raining Men. It's obviously got Together in Electric Dreams.
But that's not till the end, is it? That's the encore.
Got Dead Ringer for Love.
Oh, Dead Ringer for Love,
which is my favourite.
That's Titania and Oberon giving it King and Queen of the Fair.
What else you got in there?
Temptation. Yeah, a little bit of Heaven 17.
A couple of big ballads as well.
Yeah, some Cyndi Lauper in there. Oh, yeah, Bonnie Tyler, Total Eclipse of the Heart. I mean,
they're just belting sing along, and it is such a brilliant story, Midsummer Night's Dream, and I think it's one of those pieces that I can see over and over. You know, sometimes you see so many and you think, "Oh, I've done that."
Yeah,
but
there's always a twist.
It's eternal, isn't it? Some fireworks have just gone off here. I don't know if you heard that, but that's for you, to celebrate for you. But I want to talk about one more project that you're doing, and then any other projects you're doing, and then I want to talk a bit more about you.
Oh,
so tell me about All Our Punished.
All Our Punished. Well, that's one of the things that we are really passionate about with regard to the community work that we do, and it's connected with our Shakespeare play Romeo and Juliet. If people watching probably know, but there's a lot of death in Romeo and Juliet, of death of young people particularly, and it caused by knife crime, and we're living in that world, aren't we? You know, it was ever thus. So we put a bid into Awards for All National Lottery to work with a knife crime charity, and the JJ Effect, who is unbelievable, as you know yourself, Gav. But we got the funding, didn't we? So we were granted the funding to do this, and Chris will tell you some more.
So we got five workshops across the Northwest that integrates the themes of Romeo and Juliet, but with the really hard-hitting real-world experience that the JJ Effect brings to it. They're open to the community, especially if anybody is around the Runcorn area. There's one at the Brindley on the 10th of July. Again, if you go our social media or our website, you'll see that's a free event to come and see. It's we saw the JJ Effect presentation on Friday, and it's one of the most hard-hitting things I've I think I've ever seen, and to have the chance to mix that with the power of theatre with the in Romeo and Juliet, I think is really something quite special and unique. I think there's sometimes there comes a social responsibility when you're creating theatre or any anything else creative, really. And I think if you're doing if we're out on tour doing a piece about, Kate always says Romeo and Juliet's not the greatest love story ever told. It's not. It's a horrific tale of 5 young people that lose their lives in the space of a couple of weeks. It's quite dark, and so it feels like there's some
Quite
sort of
dark.
Yeah, I think it's misinterpreted in a very casual way as a romance, isn't it?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
something as the most romantic love story, and I think that's often by people who probably haven't seen it for a long time.
Yeah. And yes, there are those beautiful elements in it, and those moments that you just go, oh, if only that could last. But the fact is, really, I always think if Romeo and Juliet, it happened with the musical and Juliet, didn't it? But if they were still alive, they wouldn't have stayed together. Probably, they're just kids. They're just kids. They wouldn't have stayed together. They probably just would have. It would.
And it is that, and I know that there's very often a commentary on the age of them. They're probably teenagers and they're in a relationship. Plus ça change, as is every way. But then it is just remembering the age of them. They were probably teenagers, and they were killing each other.
They were killing each other,
and it's set in a whole world of that violence. And I know there's perhaps a cycle led by media, but just one quick look tells you. Knife crime, violent crime often perpetuated by young men who need some guidance, who need some positivity, and that's what I do think it does circle round. I don't think it goes without saying that if you are so community focused and based like you and creating opportunities, who knows what opportunities you're offering young people that are taking them on such a positive path. But yeah, those workshops are free to the community, aren't they? I'll put links in this when it publishes, because it goes here as a post. It goes on to YouTube.
And if people attend those workshops, there are some free tickets available to see Romeo and Juliet at various venues that we're playing.
That's incredible. So there you go. So just to state that again, if you come to the workshop, you get free tickets which is free.
Yeah.
You get free tickets to see the show.
Yes. It's all part of the funding that we applied for, because
amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. That's brilliant. So anything else you've got coming up that you do? Any other plates you're spinning?
Well, we've got our big production of Les Mis in October with our youth theatre, which is fully orchestrated with Chris's MD in that, and I'm directing orchestra. 14-piece orchestra. We've been working on that we will have been working on it for a year with our Saturday youth theatre, and the talent in that room is
it's just
blowing.
We always say, Gav, that we want anybody who comes, so forget parents, people who are just coming to see this, we want people not to say, oh, that's great for kids. We want people to say, that is just brilliant. It's the quality that could be anywhere. Some of the reviews we've had have said that previously, because it's, you come up through the youth structure, the youth theatre structure, the youth orchestra. So it's all about pushing that quality, pushing people as much as you can to get the very, very, very best out of them.
We do really expect the best, and we get it. I think some of the kids are just incredible, and the team that we've got, we've got the likes of one of our other MDs, Corey, who is our pianist, but much more than that, he's an incredible musician, and he does a lot of the arranging. And then we've got Colin, who does all our choreography, who's also an actor in our company, Colin, but he's our choreographer and movement director. So we're just dead lucky to have this talented tribe that want to work with us, and we just feel really lucky to have that. Yeah.
Again, I say again, you just have to look at your socials to see those brilliant summaries. And I've seen you in action. I've seen you turn, reticent. I mean, I remember the first time I went to a youth theatre or a group like that. It's absolutely terrifying. And then by day 2, day 3, these young people are just in their tribe, and you do a beautiful thing. And I think it is interesting that that you've got this pipeline from, say, Holiday Access Fund, youth theatre, Saturday group, professional company, based on your own professional opinion, experience. So, I want to know a little bit about you and your creativity and what fuels you, but also what you enjoy. We usually do about half an hour of conversation. So if there's anybody who's watching here live who wants to ask a question of Kate or Chris about what they do, I'll filter it. I'll ask it to you. You don't need to look at the chat. Then now's the time to type it in. Now, we didn't have a chance to talk. It's not a catch you out question. I do not believe in anything called a guilty pleasure. If something, in terms of culture, we can get very snobby about what we do for fun. I think there's some criminal acts that you should feel guilty about if you find it pleasurable. But I'm talking about, where are your comfort, creativity, cultural spaces? Songs, films, TV, books, theatre. What do you turn to?
Just like to enjoy us personally.
Yeah, or you return to. I'm particularly interested in things that you return to.
That's I'm just thinking about that, and there aren't. I've got to be honest, there aren't that many things that I.
Are we thinking like films, plays,
anything cultural, creative at all?
I mean, I think that the thing that nourishes me most is going to see live theatre. Going to see live theatre is genuinely the thing that does that for me. I don't necessarily always go back and see the same thing.
Although I have seen Les Mis like 30 times.
Yeah, I mean, that's in its own bracket, isn't it? But there are
not really.
It is.
No, I mean, in the sense you do go back to it. It is your place of comfort and joy.
Yeah. But play-wise, I mean, it is live theatre, isn't it? That's where we, if we were going to spend £100 on a night out, we would go to the theatre.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm thinking this through now, and I know if there was ever a production of like Jesus Christ Superstar on, we would be like a shot. As long as it's not the version with the 4 band members, just the 4 band members.
Yeah, well, we've produced that a few years ago. We did that as a youth theatre production. Again, it was stunning, and a couple of those kids are now in the West End, and
amazing.
So yeah, amazing. So we want to do that again, don't we? We do want to do Jesus Christ again.
There's something about that, isn't there? Again, I'm not someone who haunts musicals very often, but that is one of those touchstone pieces of entertainment. The kind of the heart of the story. And again, I come at it from it as a non-religious perspective, but it's just so beautifully structured.
Oh, beautifully structured, and it's all about community.
Yeah, and a bit more. But also, again, it's one of those things where, spoilers, we know how it ends.
Yeah.
Mima wants to know, and I think you may have answered it, what's your favourite play to watch?
Oof.
All right, straight play, no songs.
Straight play, no songs. My favourite play of all time is The Crucible.
Right.
And I'm desperate to do it. I'm just trying to find a way to do it. So that's my favourite play of all time. Yeah. What about you?
This is going to sound a little teaser, I think, but at the moment, genuinely, I think it is Macbeth, and the reason for that, I think, is I'm on a voyage of discovery for Shakespeare. I'm the lad who did English literature at school, and Macbeth was the set text, and I don't think I read it. I just went, I don't get it. I don't get it. So Kate introducing me to Shakespeare has been quite incredible, actually. So I think for me, I love Macbeth. I love that. I do. I think it's amazing.
And we've got to also mention, I think, Gav, that Chris is obviously in the production team for Macbeth, but he designs the most amazing sound for all of our productions.
Oh, don't I know that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a fan of Chris. We worked together earlier in the year on the War of the Worlds, and it would not have been what it was without your soundtrack. And that's
but yeah.
I was working on the next version on the train on the way up, Gaff.
But it's astounding. what you do. I mean, the Macbeth. The reason why I wanted to partner with you is because of the soundtrack you created for Macbeth, and this was a soundtrack which was heard outdoors, and it was so incredibly powerful, so skillful. Claire's got a really good question, and I have my thoughts, but I want to hear yours. So Claire asks, for someone whose knowledge of Shakespeare does not extend much beyond Upstart Crow, which is brilliant,
Great.
would you recommend reading up on the story before seeing a new to Claire play, or just going cold?
Well, hello, Claire. I would say not. Maybe read the synopsis. But I would say one of our friends came to see Macbeth a few years ago, and he was very much anti-Shakespeare. He came with his wife just because she wanted to come, and he honestly said after seeing Macbeth he was converted to watching it, because hopefully, although we don't take any of the Shakespearean language out, hopefully we make it accessible the way it should have been, and was back in the day, even though they could probably stand for longer and have more attention span. But we condense it to the 70-minute version. But it's not just because it's condensed down. Hopefully we tell the story properly.
Your direction is key to that as well. You have a very clear vision, which you then execute, and you are the story builder for the audience. I think that's what would contribute to that. Chris, what's your thoughts on that? Is it someone who also says you're not a Shakespeare person, or you're becoming one?
No. I think it's a great question, Claire. And a lot of the barrier sometimes is around language. I think people struggle with that and think, the language is impenetrable. I think the key anchor for me in it was actually reading a synopsis and understanding the emotion behind it, and it's incredible to realize that the emotions, all of those things that Shakespeare was talking about 450 years ago, not surprisingly, that's the human condition. There's still those things now. And I think for me, that helped to just understand it. So even if I didn't get every single meaning, I kind of got the gist and I got the emotion, and I kind of got myself wrapped up and pulled into all of that. And I think one of the first things Kate told me about Shakespeare is that it's not the language, it's not the content, it's not what Shakespeare wrote, it's how it's delivered, it's how the actors put their own, how the director makes those choices. And I have to echo what you say, Gav, that Kate is an incredible director. I think her vision for what she does with these things makes it really relevant, and I think it cuts through a lot of guff and bump and just gets absolutely to the heart of what it is.
I want to know what's going on inside every character's heart and mind, and I want that to be portrayed on the stage. And I also want it to look exciting and sound exciting, and the audience to be excited and kind of in it as well. We want to make it as visceral as possible. So our plays tend to be quite, if they're a tragedy, they'll be really bloody, and they'll be if it's a comedy, it'll be hopefully very funny. But the tragedies really get under the skin of what should have been. Yeah,
I have a hot take, and that is, I think there are very few elements of the key Shakespeares that are left to be spoilt. I think we all know how many of them end.
Yeah.
So, and again, the barrier perhaps sometimes is our perception of language, and sometimes the barrier can be the direction, and it can be that the presumption is the audience is a knowledgeable audience, which I think is unfair, particularly as these plays are hundreds of years old and their references were very contemporary.
Yeah.
So I would say yes. Read a synopsis.
Read a synopsis.
Go to Wikipedia. Don't read the full scene by scene guide.
Yeah.
But read a synopsis. Get a flavour, and if the production's right, then the flavour will enable you to access the deeper, richer characters. If it's a comedy, very often they're comedies of status.
Yeah.
So get to know people's status.
Situation. Yeah.
Yeah. There's basically there's going to be a couple of twins. Someone's going to fall in love with someone else, and it's non-consensual. That's a big thing in Shakespeare.
I dress as a boy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of knob jokes.
Lots of knob jokes. Do you know? Oh yeah, we do have
Yeah.
in Electric Dreams we do,
Yeah.
but not.
Yeah, not so much in histories, but I've seen inspirational productions, and I've seen terrible productions of the same play by big companies.
Yeah,
and it's very often
Yeah.
because they're not doing audience service.
Yeah.
And I think you do need to.
substance as well, isn't it? You go to these bigger productions often, and often it is style over substance, and they're not telling the story because they've got an amazing set, or they've got a Hollywood actor playing the lead or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think I'm really interested in relationships, these stories, because everybody's in a relationship of some kind. They're all connected. They're all connected
Yes.
to each other, and that's the story I want to tell.
It's a shame that unfortunately a bad first experience with Shakespeare will pretty much put you off Shakespeare for life, and it's a hard path back from that, I think.
Yeah. And we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to grab people in and say, honestly, it's fine. It's for everyone. And if it's not for you, it's only 70 minutes of your life. You're not going to walk away saying that's 4 hours I'm never going to get back. It's just a day out in the park, or a day out in Shakespeare North or wherever. Yeah.
So Claire continues that with, actually, I think one barrier I have is if there's so many cast members, I lose track of who is who.
Right.
And that, again, it can be done unless it's been structured in a particular way. And that's why, actually, going to see a touring, I know that Claire is nowhere near. You can get to London, though. You can get to London, to Covent Garden, Claire, easily, and see 2 Shakespeares where you will get a personal summary before you go on. But if you can't do that to the Actors Church, then touring companies that do work in parks and things, by virtue of the fact that they're touring, they have small casts, and it is very structured. But
we've 14 in our cast.
14, yes, and many of the characters are collapsed. It's only the big companies that can afford to have.
Oh yeah.
The smaller characters played. Now, I mean, and shout out to the Globe. The good companies do not have a problem smashing up the text, and the original text isn't even an original text.
Well, this is it.
So I recommend seeing the Shakespeare. Still, go for something that is going to be fun. I wouldn't go straight in with Richard II.
Second, although I had great reviews, didn't it, at the Bridge?
Well, yeah, I've seen some very good Richard IIs, and I've seen some very tedious Richard IIs.
Well, Macbeth's a good one to start with, I think.
The Macbeth, Midsummer Night's Dream, Romeo and Juliet, Twelfth Night, I think, and The Tempest. These are the shows that are redone because they are fundamental pieces. Any last questions? Now's your chance. But thank you so much for your time. You are just 2 of the most creative people, but with your hearts are so rooted in the community you work with and you work for, and that's so you're part of that tradition of those people who are just absolute champions. Kate, you already mentioned that you had champions, your drama teacher, and Chris, obviously with that family, there's music, but looking back, who else do you reflect on as being the people that just said to you, yeah, keep doing what you're doing? Why are you here?
My mom and my family, but my mom was my absolute champion, as well as all my family, really, actually. I would be blessed to have a really supportive family to say, go and do what you love. It was always go and do what you love, and then work it out there, but you've got to follow your passion. And that's what I say to my daughter too. You might not earn very much money, but you'll never be you'll never you'll never feel like you've wasted your life either. So
I think for me it was very similar, but there's one person who really sticks out for me, a gentleman called Douglas Milne, who nobody will have heard of. He was the ex principal percussionist of the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra, going back sort of into the 50s and 60s. And the percussionist, and for those of you who don't know, as a percussionist, you basically have to play every instrument that you can hit, shake, or scrape. And that's from drums, shakers, but all the tuned percussion instruments as well, marimbas, vibraphones, glockenspiels, xylophones. In other words, there's a lot of gear that you need. And when you come from a working class background where your parents can't really afford that, it's really, really hard to get a foothold into that world. And my teacher, Douglas Mill, he had been collecting for years and years little spare parts, little bits, little notes from xylophones, and he built me one. He built me just to practice xylophone so that I could practice at home, so I could do enough practice to get into music college. And that support, that person going so above and beyond.
It's amazing.
You know, personally, I feel there's a real responsibility to pass that on somehow. I do. I really feel that because I was so well. Yeah. And you know, I was so lucky to have Doug in my life and to be that positive. Yeah, it was amazing.
It is about those positive role models that are also teachers and creatives themselves. Like my drama teacher, you must have had one yourself, Gav, because it's those people. I always remember going on stage, and always my drama teacher had died, and she was meant to come and see me in London in a play, my first professional job, and she died just before. But I always feel like she's there with me somehow. It's weird. It is weird, but those are lovely weird. You know, my mum will like that. But your guy Douglas, who built your marimba, that's an incredible story.
Yeah.
And Chris has got a marimba now that he wants to pass on to somebody who is a young music student who can't afford a marimba. You've got that, haven't you? And so if there's any music students out there who want a marimba, Chris wants to give his marimba away to that house.
You already, I've seen it with my own eyes, how you are champions, not just for creativity and culture, but for young people and young performers. You know, it isn't a privilege, and, you know, you're just incredible people. And, you know, long may you reign. Look, you've been traveling, you've been hobnobbing with the highest political echelon. Kate, maybe you've done, and maybe you've achieved something. I don't know. But what we'll do is we'll draw this to a close with my thank you. If there's anything else you want to say, that's fine to say. I'll put lots of links down there, but I'll probably click the button in a moment so you can go and finish that cup of tea or have a fresh one. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gav. We love working with you. We love what you're doing as well, and your energy and your passion.
You're at the heart of our tribe, you know that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting us.
All right, take care. Thank you. Oh, there they go. I'm going to boot them out now. So, it always just, there are people that, you know, so I talk about this, is someone with a neurodivergence, you know, and there are so many people who are neurodivergent who perform because that's where you find places of your own control. That's where you can tune your mask. That's where, you know, the world is blocked out. That's where all of the rushing thoughts get pushed to the side. And that's why there's a lot of neurodivergent solo performers. But you know, the thing is, it's hard work engaging with people. We all find this. But then there are people like Kate and Chris that are just the greatest joy to be with. They feed and strengthen me personally, but also the young people I see them with, the young professionals and, you know, pure professional creatives and performers and that I see them working with. And they are part of that spine of culture that happens in our communities, and long may they reign, because, you know, this is a huge industry. So what a pleasure. Now, I've really, really enjoyed these Tell Me Your Stories. They're going to pause for a couple of weeks because of work and because of rehearsals. So, you know, you can catch up. Obviously, they're all here on Substack. It's now on Spotify. The audios are now on Spotify. Or you can, if you're in the Northwest, come and see Macbeth Romeo and Juliet in various parks, Shakespeare North, again, if you're anywhere near London, you can see those in Covent Garden, the Actors Church. I'll be performing this Saturday for Children's Literature Festival in Blackburn with Darwin, Hornby Lecture Theatre. Free performances of Telltale Twit, my Leicester Comedy Festival nominated Best Kids Show. And then I go up to the Bradford Literature Festival, where I'm performing stories, and The War of the Worlds, which I mentioned, that Chris did the live soundtrack for, and he's capturing some recordings for me. And then I've got lots going on beyond. Other places, if you like a supernatural story, I read them live on Twitch on a Monday evening, and then I pop them onto YouTube. There's some very short stories this week, and you can find all my links in my link tree. Thank you so much for watching, and if you get this far, know this. I think you're amazing. I think you're very, very kind. I think you're thoughtful. I think you're probably one of the best people in your little tribe. I know it. Stay in touch, take care, and look out for the next run of Tell Me Your Story. So I do have some people lined up. Bye-bye.